Welcome to Board of It. I'm Farrell. This is Tally.
Hello.
And welcome to our review of Splendor Duel, the game which asks, what if Splendor, but with more mechanisms and for only 2 people? Splendor Duel is a re-implementation or a sequel, depending how you want to look at it, to the mega popular Splendor, and it's going to add some new mechanisms, multiple routes to victory, and it'll also only be for 2 players. Interestingly, this is actually already rated much higher than the original Splendor on Board Game Geek.
Usually at this point we'd say something about the theme, but this is very, very abstract and generic. You're both merchants trying to get prestige or something, but in any case it doesn't matter as nobody's going to be playing this game for its thematic flavour. So let's jump into our review, firstly with a brief how to play, but before we do that we would just note that we were very kindly sent this as a review copy by Asmodee Games Nordic. The general cycle of the game is that you'll be taking gems from the central board, represented by these lovely poker chips, and then turning them in to buy cards. Most of the cards also represent gems, except they're now permanently in your collection, so that means that you can use them to buy more cards in the future at a discount, so you'll be able to buy more expensive cards which are more likely to contain crowns and victory points. Some of the cards, when you take them, also allow you to get a little bonus, such as taking another gem from the central board of the same colour.
On your turn, you'll take one of 3 potential actions. First is to take gems. You can take up to 3 gems, and you take them in an orthogonal or diagonal kind of line, straight line. However, gold interrupts this. So the second potential action you could do is to take a gold. This is the only way to get a gold, which acts as a wild, and this action also allows you to reserve a card, meaning only you can play it in the future. The third potential action is to purchase a card, either from one of the ones you reserved or from the general display.
Further wrinkles include these scrolls, which can be spent by a player in order to take a gem from the main board prior to their main action, or the fact that you can replenish the main board with spent gems, again prior to your main action, but then your opponent will get a scroll. You also have these noble cards, which can be claimed when a player gets 3 and 6 crowns respectively, and they're going to give you some victory points and bonus actions.
There are 3 ways to win. The first is to get 20 victory points total. The second is to get 10 victory points in one colour of gem, you could say, or one type of gem. The third is to get 10 crown symbols, which are little symbols you can find on the cards themselves. As soon as one player achieves one of these goals, the game's over, that's it, good night Vienna.
First up, you should know that we've never actually played OG Splendor, so this won't be a comparison video in any way, just a straight up review of Splendor Duel. What we do know though is that this has more in terms of mechanisms, and many people feel this is the better version, particularly when compared to original Splendor at a 2-player count.
In any case, we're both impressed by Splendor Duel. Now, it's not our favourite 2-player game, it's not going to blow your socks off. I mean, it's a re-implementation of a 10-year-old game, but it was a surprisingly solid, engaging experience. And sometimes that's all you need. You know, something you get on the table in under 2 minutes, something that's easy to explain, something you don't have to think too hard about, but that has a lot of crunch, and just something you can enjoy having a good time with the other person doing. Now, the first thing that Splendor Duel does excellently is tension. It's always tense and you always feel under pressure. Because your opponent can win in one of 3 different ways, you have to keep your eye on them, you have to know what they're doing, you have to know what they're going for, and you have to try and stop them. Now, this tension builds and builds till you're both going kind of at breakneck speed, all out towards the finish line. Because make no mistake, this is a race game. You're racing for the victory points, you're racing for the crowns, you're racing to victory, you're racing to get cards, you're racing to get the right gems. And just everything is tense and you're trying to do it as quickly as possible. It's nice that for such a compact design with such a tight race, there's a lot of flexibility. Players can choose which flavour of victory they want, and the fact that you have gold, scrolls, nobles and cards with free actions in the mix allows for some really interesting strategies to emerge. Although Splendor Duel is a somewhat limited system, the way you navigate towards your chosen victory condition can feel surprisingly different play to play due to all of these tools at your disposal.
It's really sharp design in the clever little ways that opponents can grief each other. It's just as important to take gems from the board in a way that makes life difficult for the other player as it is to take the gems you actually want. We also love the game of chicken it forces players into, as neither wants to be the one to have to refill the gem board and thereby gift their opponent a scroll. There are a lot of these subtle crunch points between the players, and the depth of gameplay is really surprising. This is also a game that really rewards repeat plays as you dig deeper into potential strategies and learn to become lethally efficient. On whichever level of competitiveness you play it, Splendor Duel is a rewarding game. You're always gaining something, even when you spend something, and it's a delight to stack your cards in neat little rows, gaining more and more discounts until you're gaining cards which felt near unattainable at the start of the game, and closing in on your victory. Speaking of, the key decision in the game is when you stop gathering the cheap cards and instead devote your time to acquiring the level 2 and 3 cards, which are the ones that will get you closer to victory. It's a fine balance, and I love the player agency in this decision.
Before we wrap up, let's take a little time to just say a few of the little issues we have, which are very small, but you should know that if you're playing this, you can't escape the element of randomness when you're pulling things from a bag or drawing cards. Yeah, if you decide to go for crowns and you get every crown that comes out in the early game, it could be in the mid to late game, you just don't pull any cards with the crowns. Or perhaps the one card that does come out with a crown, it needs 6 red, and that's the one colour that you don't have any discount on. Same thing kind of for if you're going for victory points of a specific colour, because it is too late mid-game to pivot. Then with drawing the chips in the middle, how it falls can have a big impact on how it goes for either player. It could be the absolute perfect draw that lets you get that card you need, or it could basically be worthless to you. And in terms of usability, probably the biggest issue we had is the white cards. Their victory points are in white font on a white background. And when you're across the table, I found it almost impossible to see if the cards do or don't have victory points on them. And in 2 games, I've been surprised by an opponent's victory because I didn't realize that they had victory points on their white cards. And it's particularly a problem when they have like 4 victory points on those cards. Final thoughts. We have a real soft spot for these type of 2-player head-to-head games, particularly because we play at 2 players quite a lot. And Splendor Duel is an excellent addition to anyone's collection if these are the type of games you're into. It's quick to set up, it's crunchy to play, and you can play it very quickly back to back to back. And we just have a lot of time for this, and it's probably going to become one of our go-to travel games because of this tiny little box.
Yep, and it's a tremendously engaging efficiency puzzle with enough wrinkles to keep you coming back game after game. Although if you're out here looking for new experiences, then you're not going to find it here in this re-implementation of a near decade-old game. If you enjoyed this video, we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a thumbs up. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions about the game or any thoughts if you've played it. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you're not already. And we'll see you next time. Treat time. Bye.